Facts and Fuckery.
Today, our special guest is Brother Polight. We talk about economic sustainability, the real definition of retardation, and if you're retarded. Also, several other things that matter that you're going to want to know about.
Facts and Fuckery.
Facts and Fuckery. We got a special guest here today, Brother Polight.
Peace. How you doing?
Coming on, you know, you can let them know a little bit about you.
They don't already know.
They probably know already.
Matter of fact, let's start with, I'm interested to know, what is the definition of polite?
Oh, okay. It's an acronym for pride, optimism, love, integrity, gallant, honesty, and trust.
That's a dope acronym.
Yeah, initially I didn't like the name because people was kind of ridiculing me because I grew up banging, but I was very positive. So they was just like, yo, man, this dude, man, polite. Like, you sure you should be banging?
Shut up, Sharif.
Yeah, so they used to call me Cavity initially, you know, because of a negative situation with people. And as I got conscious, I wanted to be called on by a name that had more prominence and more positivity. You know, I wanted to resonate with me that I made a transition in my life. So, you know, people know you by different names, and that's like summoning a different spirit or a different energy or attitude. You know, your mother may call you by a name that nobody in the streets call you by, so when somebody call you by that name, you'll be like...
It's like when Malcolm X used to be Detroit Red.
That's right.
Switched his name. What was a defining moment that made you go on the path of polite, fully away from the gangster life?
Being shot, stabbed, sliced, meeting my mom.
Me too.
You know, me and my mother, when I turned 17, she died the week that I met her. So I had 7 days with my mother. My father, he was there until I was 8. He left on my birthday. So there's a lot of moments. But when I came home from prison, my wife, still to this day, one of my wives, the wife that I've been with for the longest, over 21 years, since we was 12, 13 years old.
Congratulations.
Aminette, she gave me an ultimatum to read or leave. So I was like, man, I realized how much I loved it. I gave it a shot, long story short, and I decided to read. So with that came a great deal of responsibility. The more knowledge I had, I put the onus on me to make better decisions. So I realized, or I came to terms, that I don't need to be called by a name that just corresponds with a bunch of negativity. I wanted to be called on by a name that I should respond to its attributes. So people were already calling me polite anyway, jokingly, and I took it on. And then as I started teaching, people prefixed brother to it, which I didn't like, but it stuck. So now it was Brother Polight everywhere I go. So that's how I get that name.
Oh, man. That's pretty dope. What do you feel about like younger people? Like, I know they're not really. It's kind of hard. It seems like it's more of a challenge to get like younger people into the conscious world, especially the hip hop world.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's never a challenge for me to get younger people into consciousness, because I don't really attempt to get nobody conscious. I don't attempt to make anyone conscious or encourage their consciousness. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions about me. Yeah. If people think I want to convert somebody to something.
So you're not forcing nobody, you just kind of just telling the truth.
Quite frankly, I'm not interested in anyone being conscious at all.
Yeah.
I believe we all have an experience to share and demonstrate. You know, so I'm sharing my experience, and people can vicariously grow from what I share. You know, my greatest donation to humanity would be my own personal experience, my own triumphant feats. You know, coming from where I come from, that should be enough. That's more valuable than any money that I can give to anybody. And that goes for anyone else that comes from turmoil, or anybody that comes from rough and rugged past. Their greatest donation to society is to share and give that kind of conversation for the sake of empowerment. So I quit the whole attempting to convert people stuff almost from the beginning of my path, because I realized that you would have to be almost brain dead if you share time with somebody and you don't pick up their influence. That could be good or bad. You know, if you stay in Brooklyn long enough, you're gonna start calling people son. When you see them, you're gonna say son is mad crazy. That's the culture. You feel what I'm saying? Or if you're in Brooklyn and somebody questioning your gangster or whatever, you be like, man, you know my body, or son know my body. But that's how we talk. Somewhere else, somebody be like, oh, no homo pause. They probably be like, you know, your body.
Yeah.
Somebody know your body, but that's like, you know my body at work, you know my resume.
Yeah.
So you live in Brooklyn long enough, you're gonna pick up some of the lingo. And that is the case with anything. So if you surround yourself around successful people, it's very likely you're gonna become more successful than you was prior. And so there's no need to really convert anybody. You know, consciousness is the ability to be responsive to stimuli.
Do you think it's because I definitely feel that too, because language is necessary for survival. So do you think that, like, would you say there's an issue with how people are taking in the information? Like, should we change the form? Like, for example, I was watching, I forgot who it was. You did a video chat with a few people, and I felt like one, I think it was from The Nation, and I felt like he was kind of holding back information in a sense and making it was a young man. Yeah, and he was like an ambitious, excited young man, and he basically was looking for answers, but the elder was kind of just, well, you got to look here and look there, and kind of holding some information for another time, it seemed. And I feel like that information should have been let go, because when our people are hungry, if they don't get fed, then they may get frustrated and act out in an unproductive way if they don't get the answer. So do you think the information should be maybe fed a different way or a different outlet? Or?
I think, or what I feel personally, is that the onus is on us to live what we teach it.
Yeah.
You know, and I like certain types of knowledge because it's hard to fake it. You know, you can fake astrology to an extent. You can fake numerology. You know, you forecast who's a good woman in another person's life, or who's bound to come in your life. Like, I'm not saying the science is not real, but you can't fake success for so long. You can't fake material success. You know, eventually somebody's gonna realize you live in the same projects as them. You feel what I'm saying? So I like for us as conscious people to demonstrate the same. If I break down that the 3 pyramids at Giza, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, right, is aligned with the belt of Orion, Ani Lam, Ani Tak, and Mintaka. If I tell you that most of the pyramidal structures around the planet is on the 32-degree northern tropic of Cancer, line of latitude. If I tell you that the Sphinx was in alignment with the Leo constellation on purpose, and I tell you that the Milky Way is in alignment with the Nile River Valley, the longest river in the world, if we can accomplish all these marvelous feats, then why can't we transcend poverty? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I believe the disconnect is establishing if people are BSing us or not. I think the biggest disconnect for the youth is if you have all this powerful information, like some of us would say we gods, right?
Yeah.
And peace God, that's how we do. Like in New York, we say peace God more times than anything else, or peace son.
To the gods.
Yeah, peace to the gods or peace God. So if that is what it is, right? Then struggling should be obsolete, blaming the white man should be obsolete. All of that is dumb.
Yeah.
Because God is supposed to be the head. When we dealing with hierarchy, everything else is under God.
Shouldn't be
right?
making no excuses.
So if I call you a God, I done already removed all limitations from you.
Yeah.
And if you still struggling as God, then there ain't no hope for us. Because if you're my source of information and you're God and you telling me I'm God, and we both in the same hood perpetually every year, then there's going to be a disconnect where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just get the information from the homie in the streets because I can see the reality of what he telling me. He telling me we're going to get this money. He executed a plan. He let me know we could die in the interim. We can get incarcerated, but he sees the reality to what you spend, and he knows what the end goal is ultimately and what the pitfalls are. But with this conscious stuff, it gets real tricky.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot of information that strokes your ego. And at the end of the day, it may not amount to nothing. Now, that doesn't mean that the information is inaccurate. It's the manner in which we communicated, which is what my brother was talking about. So I believe our best form of communication is through demonstration. That's my whole belief. I have a large following of people, and I believe most likely because they can say, I can see a lot of what I speak to or attest to be made materialized or come to fruition. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how brilliant can you be if you can't get out of poverty? I always question myself like that. And that's why I realize a lot of us suffer from retardation. If you look up the word retardation, You know, nobody wants to be identified as retarded, but if you look up the word retardation, you're going to see that it is when one hinders their own ability to progress. Look up the word. Shit's crazy. That's another thing that goes on in our community. We have words that we attribute meanings to it through popular rumor, but those meanings never existed in the first place, right? So retardation is a serious word because it's when one hinders their own ability to progress.
Yeah.
So if that be the case, most of us that's procrastinating, you feel what I'm saying? That's a form of retardation. You know, we know we're holding ourselves back if we don't push the envelope. If I know drinking is slowing me down, it's causing me to destroy relationships, it's causing me to lose my job, then it'd be retarded for me to keep drinking.
Retarded.
You feel what I'm saying? So that's a fact. So, you know, it's just how we demonstrate the information. It's all about demonstration. If I can see you actualize what you tell me, you'll have my attention for real. So I realize it's not even so much about the conversion rate, right? Because most of us is retarded. That goes for any race. We're designed to be retarded. Only 5% of everybody in America in general. It's 327 million people estimated to live in America. 327 million. And only 5% of them make over $150,000 a year where wealth begins. The other 95% are failing or below the wealth standard, meaning they don't have enough money to invest at least 1/3 of their income. But we know poverty begins for a family of four at $32,000 a year, and for an individual at $15,000 a year per annual household or median income. And we know wealth begins at $150,000 or more. And so wealth is supposed to be precipitated by virtue of the fact you're able to invest 1/3 of your income without compromising the integrity of your living situation, right? So if I'm making $150,000 a year, I should be able to put 50 grand towards investments, whether I break it all up and put it in one thing. And win, lose, or draw, my life still is good whether I win, lose, or draw, right? Whereas when we invest, we like, yo, bro, I really need to know this investment's coming back. Baby mom is on me.
Right.
You know, my boss on my head, my man on my head, he keep calling me for the money back. See, we can't even afford to even throw like $500 out there.
Yeah,
you
gotta make the win.
Yeah, we likely look like John Q out here holding up a hospital and shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's not.
Gotta have heart though.
Yeah, we not in a space where we can really invest at our leisure without the stress or being in a state of duress. So wealth begins at $150,000 or more a year, and you're supposed to be able to invest at least 1/3 of your income to following the 50-30-20 principle. 50% obligatory money, 30% miscellaneous, and 20% debt and investments. We're supposed to be able to break our money up in retrospect to that model. Okay, so understanding that, we go back to it. If only 327 million people live in America, only 5% of them, the 5%ers, right? Only 5% of them actually have wealth, right? Then the 95% are technically retarded. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if we look at this book,
Facts and Fuckery. Remember, like and subscribe for the next episode with Brother Polight. You don't want to miss it.